is 10:31, as I say that, 10:32 on the east coast of Australia, except in Queensland, and it is about 11:32 in Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, where yesterday, in Irish time, there was an election to elect 176 members to their lower house. And I thought there would be no better way to start off a coverage for an election than to look at some exit polling figures. Here is the results of the joint exit poll from almost all major outlets in Ireland. The results taken from people who voted yesterday were as follows for the three major parties of Ireland. Sinn Féin, who were behind most of the campaign and were partially why this election was called in the first place. They had been leading in the polls for most of the time since the 2020 election, but now they dipped under, and in the waning week of the campaign, they came back, and the estimate from the exit poll is 21.1, a loss of about 2% about 3% in fact, on their last election result, as we can see on the right side. If I pull it up, just the Wikipedia page, and we can see last time around Sinn Féin had 24.5%. This means that this figure, if exactly correct, would mean Sinn Féin has got a swing against it of about 3.4%. Then we have Fine Gael on 21%. Now this might look like it's actually close, and it is in fact closer, the gap between Sinn Féin and Fine Gael, as the last election. It's closer, but Fine Gael have only gained 0.1% on their previous election figure. Now, that won't help them win many seats, given the fact of Ireland's election system, which I'll fully explain in a minute or so. But the last one, the three major parties of Ireland, Fianna Fáil, they have ended up on 19.5%. Now, last election, they were in second place, and in some of the polls just days before the election itself, they actually managed to sneak through the two parties that had been behind in every poll since the election, Sinn Féin and Fine Gael, to get ahead onto 21% in most just about pre-election polls. But this exit poll shows them about 1.5% down on that figure and 2.7% down on their 2020 figure of 22.2%, leaving them on 19.5% of the first preference vote. Now, I say first preference because Ireland uses a system that they choose to call, and is generally called, single transferable vote. But I'll be explaining what in Australia we call Hare Clark, because Hare Clark is basically just the candidate version of what is more generally called single transferable vote. So in Ireland and in Hare Clark, you have one first preference vote. You have a list of candidates on your ballot that add up to, that all have their own box. You number the boxes from order of your preferences, and mostly you have to fill out a couple of preferences in Some parts in Australia it's 5 or 7, but in Ireland you're not actually required to go any further. You have your first preference, which is where your vote will be counted first, and you list everyone else that you want to preference. Now, when all the votes are tallied, the first preference votes will get those votes in as a final count for the first preference count. It's normally called count 1 for obvious reasons. And so, when we get that count, we'll be able to look at the last couple of candidates and the first couple of candidates. Now, if the first candidate has got above one quota, which is 100%, which I calculate at least as 100% of the votes, of the first preference votes, divided by the amount of seats plus 1. If they're above that marking for 5 seat electorates, 16.66%. If they're above that, they immediately are elected and get 1 seat in the parliament. But if that happens, we then count the entire of their second preferences votes. So where their voters have chosen to put the number 2, and we then get the amount that they were over by, the amount that number 1 candidate exceeded the quota marking, and using that amount times by each of the preferencing rates, we can get a distribution of the overhanging votes to every other candidate on the ballot paper. Now, that can happen without the complicated process of multiplying it by the amount over for candidates at the bottom of the ballot paper. In Ireland, they counted so that every candidate who mathematically cannot make it over the next candidate, whether that's because there's no quota exceeding and they are at the bottom of the count, or because that person at the bottom of the count couldn't get them above the person above them, then all of those people will have their votes excluded. And by excluded, we mean we look at each of the preferences on those ballots and put them on the piles of their next preference. Now, on the first count, that will obviously be the second preference for any person who is either excluded or goes over a quota. And that's basically the idea of the system. I'll get into a bit more detail with it when there's actually a couple of results to work with. That being said, it's probably worth looking at the electorates. I'm not just going to list them out, but if we go to the 2020 results for RTE, that definitely won't work. If we go back to the 2020 results, now I'll be using RTE for the figures tonight because unfortunately there is no centralized place where you can get all of the results, and so I had to work quickly with the things I had, and we're doing it manually. So I'm going to look at results, say in Let's look at Louth. Now, the first results, of course, we'll get is count 1. Obviously, we can say that both Sinn Féin candidates are elected here. They are over this line, the quota line. There are 5 seats, as you can see, to be had here in Louth, and what I'll be doing is looking at these votes, the votes that haven't either been excluded, which here is going to be Albert Byrne, David Bradley, or Topanga Bird, depending on how they perform on the preferences above the quota line on Sinn Féin's ballot. And I'll be looking here. Fine Gael in this seat is on 6,380. Now, see something important here. Fine Gael has another candidate, John McGannon. He is on 4,442 votes. Now, the sort of thing I'm going to be looking for is the fact that John McGannon is obviously not going to be able to get over all of the candidates above him to get that seat. But what he can do is give his preference, his party, he doesn't direct the votes, his voters do, but his voters can send their votes to the other Fine Gael candidate and get, hopefully for Fine Gael, get them over the line for a quota. And this is the same idea for Fianna Fáil. As you can see, 3,911 and 5,781 for those two. Now the problem in this specific seat for the Greens and Labour, as you can see, only Labour made it. And partially that's because Sinn Féin is not exactly going to preference the independent, but they are going to preference Labour, and they're going to preference socialists and socialist people for profit alliance. Now, later on, when Solar PBB is going to get dissolved here, we can see that the Green Party and Labour are both in this position where they're about tied. And from here, you can see what I was saying earlier is about to happen. Fine Gael is about to get excluded just after Fianna Fáil. Fianna Fáil will probably, let's be optimistic for them and say 4,000 of their votes go to the candidate above and gets them to 10,178. We can see that's just 1,700 below the amount for a quota, but realistically they'll be safe from there because they'll be 2,000 votes ahead of the next closest candidate. And then for Fine Gael, they can add up to go, in fact, almost, if they were to preference at 100% rate, above and into a quota. But they can't quite do that. And if we look forward, Fianna Fáil did not get quite as high as you would have thought, and Fine Gael are actually quite high, which we would have also expected. Now, from here, you can start to see the things that we're shaping up in count 1. The Greens and Labour were in a contest for one of the left-leaning seats that were obviously going to get there. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael obviously had these two candidates who were going to get dissolved and moved up into their larger candidates to give them more of a chance to get over. And this independent was always going to be a bit of a wild card sitting just about enough to just accrue preferences and then nearly get over. And as we can see, when the Greens get dissolved, after just about missing out, Labour gets most of the votes. They get over. Fine Gael gets a decent amount of votes and gets over, and the Independent gets enough to be sure over Fianna Fáil and get into the final position. And that's the sort of contest we saw shaping up here. Well, not count 6, at count 1. And this is the sort of events I'm going to be following as election night goes on. Now, let's look at some of these more general figures for the parties in 2020 after checking that there hasn't been anything to look for. Yeah, no, still nothing, and probably won't be anything for a while. Now let's filter first for Fine Gael. As you can see, their strong point, at least in this last election, was sort of on the west coast of Ireland. Seats like Mayo, Galway East, Limerick County, not Limerick City, however, and Cork Northwest. Now, if we, and a couple of things in southern Dublin. Now, let's look at why that might be important for them to get about 32.6. While it might be important in a normal seat, which I've just realised this is not, Limerick County had 3 seats last time around, and so the quota was 25%. That 32.6 could basically be thought of as free expenditure for Fine Gael. Doesn't really matter what happens to the Fine Gael vote nationally, even though it could have been worse than this. If that 21 figure was 18, they would have still probably been safe in this specific seat, because losing that 3-ish% would have knocked them down to 29.6. Now, that's not much to lose, especially given the fact that they're not going to get to another quota. They need to make sure that they keep above about 23%, which is 2% below a quota, and is pretty much the safe distance. You're going to lose on 23% trying to get to 25. So they could afford to lose 9.6% in this constituency. And so this is the sort of place that I like to call a safety seat. There's nothing you can really do to Fine Gael to lose this seat. They're going to retain it no matter what happens. And we can see that for Fianna Fáil as well. Here is their results last time around. Once again, some strength for them, or both of the traditional parties in Cork Northwest, and some in Carlow Kilkenny. 37.3. Now, see, in a 5-seat electorate, which it's either they dragged through 2 candidates, John McGuinness and Jennifer Murnane O'Connor. Now, that's partially because if you take their party vote, you can see that's 37.3. That on its own right, for 5.4, 5 seats to be filled, is just over 2 quotas. Now, this is another form of safety seat. Fianna Fáil actually nearly got 3 seats here. So realistically, if they were to, for some reason, lose every single one of Bobby Aylward's votes, which on first preferences will probably be more like 6,000, then, even though they've dropped, what is this? About, oh, that's not 10%. No, that's just a 12th of the vote would be the amount they dropped. They still are more than safe. Both of these other candidates, John McGuinness and Murnane O'Connor, they were both already there by the time Bobby Aylward would be in this contest. And that's another form of safe seat. Now, Sinn Féin did something questionable at the last election from an election winning viewpoint. They only contested in most seats with one candidate. Now that would become very important near the end of the last election. See, in the dying days of that campaign, or throughout that campaign, they shot up in the polls and went from a position where they realistically weren't going to get anything to a position where they might actually end up with the most seats. They actually ended up one short. And this is partially why. Let's look at Waterford. Waterford, 4 seats, so a quota of 20%. Sinn Féin, 38.3%. Now, you would assume, looking at those figures, that they would be home and hosed with 2 candidates. The problem, you look down here, only one of them got in. 20,569 votes for David Cullinane, and no other candidate to show for it. That's because there is no other candidate. Sinn Féin only presented one candidate for Waterford in the last election. Now, they've partially corrected this in this election. They've contested with 2 candidates, but that might not end up working. But this is clearly an example of a seat that Sinn Féin could have won, but didn't, because they didn't actually contest with enough candidates. Now, you could say, on the other things I've cited already, that realistically, from here, Sinn Féin would have 10,000 votes of safety over the amount they need, and therefore, basically, they don't need to worry about losing one seat in Waterford. Now, while that might be true, in reality, Sinn Féin really wants more than one seat in Waterford, especially as the electorates move around and they're looking to get into the most seats category, because of course Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil both are around the sort of area where it's very convenient to form a coalition together. And so, as we saw in the last election, when to get a majority you only needed 81 seats, they could easily meld together, grab the Greens, and cruise into government. Well, not cruise, it took a while to negotiate, but in reality, cruise. Because Sinn Féin, on the last election's figures, had 37 seats. Labour 6, so Solidarity, People for Profit on 5, Social Democrats 6, Aontu 1, and 19 independents and 1 other. That altogether would still not get them over the line last election. They needed to negotiate with one of the other major parties, but unfortunately their history has alienated them from the other parties. So realistically, they need to make a good chunk of seat gains to get anywhere near discussion of government if they're not going to change some negotiating patterns very quickly. And this is why this sort of exceeding was very costly to them last election. They could have had 2 seats here, They could have had more seats in a couple of other places, and that would have taken them into the most seats position, which probably wouldn't have got them into government, but definitely would have put them in a stronger position. Now they're trying to do that while they've lost 3% of their vote. It's harder to do that, of course, because a lot of the ones where in Waterford, that would... Oh, that's nationally. Let's go back to Waterford. In Waterford, that would take them down to 35.3%. And at that point, it's not really obvious whether they would get a second seat, and they probably wouldn't, because there's not many people who would overly preference them for a second seat, and there'd be some loss with some of the inefficiencies that would come out of that sort of tally, like one candidate just about getting to a quota and the other candidate being left on 15%, which is a lot harder to get to a second quota on. And so that's why this 3% drop for Sinn Féin is important. Seats like Waterford, yes, they have a 20% safety to keep that first seat, but if they want to get anywhere in this election past sitting on the opposition side, they need to pick up some of the seats that they lost last time simply because of their choosing to put only one candidate into seats where they could have got two or more. Now let's look at some of these smaller parties, because Ireland might have, at this point, a three-party system. That doesn't exactly exclude some of these smaller candidates from getting up. As we can see, Labour, which controlled tens of seats in previous parliaments almost a decade ago now, are now isolated in their little southeast corner here. Now, they did get some in Louth, but only 8.2%. That did actually net them a seat. But other than that, it's mostly this lower corner, 12.3 in Wexford, 12.1 in Cork East, 9.6 in Tipperary, Kildare South, 12.5%, and Dublin Bay North, 11.3%. Labour would need to gain a decent amount to turn their obvious one seats in some of these other places into two seats. So they can't realistically gain enough votes in these areas to get them another seat here. So where they need to improve is elsewhere in the country. Maybe get more in Dublin Fingal. Well, they did get one in Dublin Fingal. But improve elsewhere, Longford, Westmeath, that sort of area. And on the exit poll figures, where they barely moved from last time, it's not looking like they're going to be in a great position overall. Now, here's by who have never really been in government, and that's because partially they are very left-wing. They're known to me as people who strongly preference Sinn Féin, which could get important in a couple of seats where it gets close and there's a decent amount of solidarity, people before profit vote. Now, this isn't one party, this is an alliance. In Northern Ireland, they contest as two separate parties, Solidarity and People Before Profit, and People Before Profit is very clearly the larger party in the Northern Irish part. But this is not the Northern Irish election, this is the Republic of Ireland election, where they clearly have some support around Dublin. Now, this 10%, 11% in fact, gets turned into a seat, even though there's only 4 seats up for grabs. this Dublin West vote, 10% doesn't get turned into a seat partially because of their lack of preferences. Look, the Greens get 1,990 and jump over this, people before profit who only get 589. And so in this fashion of getting a lot in some small, more progressive seats, Solidarity, People Before Profit can drag out a couple of seats in the dial, 5 seats to be exact. But that's not particularly going to get them anywhere. And with their results in the exit poll staying around the same, like most of the smaller parties, they're presumably not going to go anywhere further this election. Now next was the large winners of the last election. So large in their winnings, in fact, that they managed to get themselves a place in government. It's the Greens. Now, like most of the left-wing parties, they have a strong showing in Dublin, 22.4 in Dublin Bay South, 21.1 in Dublin Rathdown, clearly getting seats here. But some of their strength last time around was their ability to get seats elsewhere in the country. So here in Clare, they weren't able to get a seat, but as you can see, the 9.5% share is a very good indication, even though they weren't able to turn it into anything in some of these other parts, like Kildare North, which is outside Dublin, but not entirely. 10% here, which could have theoretically got them a little bit further if they just nudged a little bit more votes out of it. And partially that's because the Social Democrats had a candidate here who got 19.3% of the vote, and there's nothing. And given the fact that a lot of the time the Greens get preferences from the Social Democrats, there's not much they could do if that preference source went away. But in those types of areas, we saw the Greens getting enough votes to just scrape in and get one seat. And that can add up pretty quickly to the amount of 12 seats total. Now, they got that figure partially because they got 7.1% nationally, which is a high vote for them. They had actually gone 4.4% up on their last election results to get to that 7.1% figure, and they've gone down again. They have lost a bit, and the polls have been showing it for a while. They seem to have been hit by some of the worst parts of the coalition, taking them 3% down approximately, and so a lot of those situations where they can drag one seat out here and there just go away. There's no opportunity for them to make that, and that's why that 12 seats figure is expected to go down to more like 4 seats. Now, that lack of success for smaller left-wing parties is not limited to the Greens. It's bounded by the Greens almost, because the Social Democrats have something up their sleeve this election. They've gained about 2% on their last election results, according to exit polls and other opinion polls recently. But they came in with an interesting strategy last time around. They only contested seats they thought they'd win. Now, that clearly didn't work entirely well in Kildare South, but let's see Kildare North, which we went to previously. And as seen previously, 19.3% of the vote went to Catherine Murphy. And so she easily got elected. And as such, the Social Democrats were able to get one seat there. And as we can see in Dublin Northwest, they were able to get 1 seat out of a 3-seat constituency. Now that's partially because of this Sinn Féin factor again, but they were competing with Sinn Féin's largest preferencing group, the Solidarity People Before Profit, and they managed to easily clear them. And so, like other left-leaning groups, they did manage to get quite high tallies in Dublin, but sometimes they were able to get quite high tallies outside Dublin. Cork Southwest here, 10.6% for the Social Democrats. All of that gained from the last election. They didn't even bother contesting the election before. And the person coming into Parliament is Holly Cairns in Cork Southwest, and that becomes very important. She is their leader at this election. And that sort of strategy and their improvements since the last election has put them in a position to gain a couple of seats this election. Now, that might be in areas like Galway West, where their push forward could get them pretty high, given the fact that they're already on 6% of the vote and it's a 5-seat constituency. And there's areas like Dublin Bay North, 8.7%. Now, given the fact that they're gaining about 3%, this seat is only going to become safer even from this position, even though last time around it was only won by about 1,200 votes. It's probably going to be safe enough this time around. And other places like Dublin Central, they did get a seat here. That's also probably going to shore up if they're getting that sort of gain. And Wicklow, in which they got a seat, that's probably going to shore up as well. And they're getting such high figures even though they only got 2.9% nationally last time around, because of that refusal to contest some smaller electorates. So all these 0% compensates for the 19.3% in Kildare North, pulling their figure down to 2.9, which means also the gains for the sort of party who doesn't contest every constituency can actually be larger than the swing overall in the national scope. This means that the 3% could turn into maybe a 5% or 10% even in some of these smaller constituencies, which might show again that this tactic of focusing on a couple of constituencies can possibly get them to a position where they get more than 6 seats, or in fact they're deemed to be likely to get more than 6 seats at this election. Now, if we look at the RT results page, there is nothing new, except for the speaker, who is automatically returned in I don't know what seat he's in. So only 1 seat for Fianna Fáil at this point. Nothing much to talk about left in the 2020 election results, except when we start to get a couple results in. Overall, that is about the lie of the land. Now, what I want to do is look not at the coverage itself, but the live referendums 2024. they've got the wrong headline there. But look at some of these scrutiny results coming in. Now, let's emphasize, these aren't results. These are indications from the ballots that are currently in from some of these areas. But realistically, especially with figures like 86% of the boxes counted, it's going to be pretty close to this. Now, look at Dublin South Central. If we go back to the 2020 results, and we look for Dublin South Central, last time around, of course there's been a bit of a redistribution, but last time around, Sinn Féin managed to top the poll with, once again, only one candidate, with starting with 39.3% of the first preference votes. Now, that would, on quotas, presumably get them to 2 seats if they were to do it again, and to split evenly, and they would get to that figure pretty easily. Now, they have partially done that. They've contested with 2 candidates, or no, 3 candidates this time round. 13% for their top candidate, who's already in the parliament, 10% for their second, and 9% for their third. Now, if we apply that same principle again that we were using in the 2020 results, we can see that if we presume the Sinn Féin 9% Sinn Féin candidate gets taken out and distributed evenly, the second place Sinn Féin candidate will probably get to 15%, and the one above that to 17%. And from there, in a seat which for this election I believe still has 4 seats. Let's just quickly check. Dublin South Central. Yes, has 4 seats, which means that the quota is 20%, and with a candidate on 17% and a candidate on 15%, that would presumably take 2 Sinn Féin candidates through if these figures hold. Other than that, look at where the Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael candidates are. They're not anywhere close, and I don't believe those parties have contested with more than 1 candidates. Fine Gael, no other candidate, and Fianna Fáil, no other candidate. That's important because there's no one to save them with 11% and with their 11% and 8%. Fine Gael is definitely going to lose from there. You can't really see them getting over. RTC, I'm not quite sure what party RTC is, but their candidate does seem to be doing pretty strongly if that 8% figure holds, or if it holds. Now, all those left-leaning parties' figures, Labour on 6%, the Greens on 5%, Social Democrats on 8%, that probably means those lower figures in the count might mean that they probably won't get over the... Oh no, they might get over... Just looking at some of the figures. No, they probably won't get over from there. However, those preferences, which will presumably slightly go to Sinn Féin over any other party, definitely gets the final length that those 2 Sinn Féin candidates need to get over. And so that is sort of how that's shaping up to be. Presumably 2 Sinn Féin, maybe Fianna Fáil, or presumably Fianna Fáil, and some wild cards lower down, but I'd prefer to be the Social Democratic candidate, if that is correct. In Dublin Rathdown, it seems like 100% of the boxes have been counted. Fine Gael, the top Fine Gael candidate has received 20%, so I'm going to quickly compare that with last time's votes, if I can bring that up, and go to Dublin Rathdown. Dublin Rathdown. Last time Fine Gael got 31.2% of the votes here. If this is correct, then their two candidates will have got 33% of the vote there, which is a slight swing to Fine Gael, which is sort of what we're suspecting, and it's in line with the national figure for the exit poll. Fianna Fáil being on 12% and the running mate on 3% is a worse position, given the fact that if we actually look for Dublin and Rathdown on the new map, they have 4 seats, so 20% is the marker. It looks like that would be Fine Gael, 2 candidates for them, and maybe probably one for Fianna Fáil. Sinn Féin is on 7%, but that's not going to get them anywhere. The Greens and the Social Democrats are in a fight here, and probably one of them will get the final seat. And looking at the rest of the figures, you'd assume that the Fianna Fáil is actually going to get over. And if we look at the 2020 figures here, that wouldn't mean much change. It possibly means a switch to the Social Democrats against the Green, and an adding of Fianna Fáil, but it's what you would expect from the last election results if nothing were to change and you were to add 1 seat. And we're now waiting for the first result to actually come in. Because, of course, even though 100% of the ballot boxes might be opened, there's not actually anything to... They haven't actually declared the result yet. With all boxes open in Dublin Fingal West, with 3 seats to contest, it seems like that'll easily be Sinn Féin. So the quota of 25%, that with 23.2%, that will easily be Sinn Féin. There's a contest between Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil here, and it'll be whichever one of those pull through. If that's an outgoing Green Party TD with 6.2% of the vote, that's not gonna work out for him. That will probably mostly add to Labour. That People for Profit is probably going to add to Labour. That's all probably going to make it Sinn Féin and Labour. And with 1 more seat in the balance, it's possible it could go to the Independents, but probably it'll either go to Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil. So that's possible. With no new results to report there, we're still working on these imperfect reports. 43% from Roscommon Galloway. Sorry, Galway. Galloway. And not much new there. And nothing new on the confirmed results side, and it seems like something new has been added. Yes, Kerry. Oh. Geez, news in quick and fast here. Now, looking at Kerry, there's 5 seats on there. The quota would be 16.6%. If those figures are correct, he has good. Michael Healy-Rae has a good reason to be happy there. That will easily be him over the line, and probably be his brother Danny Healy-Rae will probably be over the line as well, if those are the figures. But of course, there's no more conclusive ideas here. Now, this is the 100% Dublin Central tally. Marilou McDonald will easily get over. Paschal Donahoe is probably well placed there. Gary Gannon is probably well placed as well. I want to wait until some of the results are on the actual live parts when they've actually been declared. But some of these results I might just put in, or at least some of the top candidates I'll put in. So Dublin Central, Sinn Féin. In all the boxes in Dublin Midwest. Sinn Féin is easily going to get over. They're 5% over the quota with their top candidate there. So Dublin Midwest is definitely going to have a seat for Sinn Féin. Dublin South Central. Now, with all of that, that's completely unclear. I would like it if Dublin South Central was 5 seats, and I'm pretty sure I checked this already, but it is not. So everyone is racing to get to 20%, and the closest candidate is 7% behind. So I'm not going to take any indications from there. 100% of boxes in. And Fine Gael would have 5. No, that is enough. In Dublin Rathdown, so Dublin Rathdown. That is even though I said further previously, I'm just going to say that's a Fine Gael seat. At least, and we'll add those as they get into the actual results board. In Dublin Figure West, that'll easily be a Sinn Féin seat at most there, but definitely at least. Dublin Figure West. A couple of early confirmed Sinn Féins in these results. Unless something goes clearly off, that'll be how it stays. 100% tally in Dublin West, that's 5 seats, so Fianna Fáil is obviously over the line, and with people before profit that high, you would say the Sinn Féin candidate is easily over as well. That the Sinn Féin candidate is actually over. I didn't look at that correctly. Fine Gael is 15%, which is just under. It's easily close enough. 17.22. So that is in Dublin West. If that tally holds, which I have no reason to suspect won't hold, that will be Fianna Fáil, then Sinn Féin, then Fine Gael in Dublin West. Anything new for Independent Ireland? No. I'm not sure. It's not actually a seat. Now, Sinn Féin is definitely going to get one seat in Dublin North West if they've got 31% of the vote there. So that's Dublin North West. Well, that's the only position on my list. Sinn Féin. The other equations get a bit odd after that. So, with all of those seat results accounted for and no particular gains or losses at this early stage without an actual single declared result, I'm saying that at least there'll be 2 Fianna Fáil, 1 Fine Gael, 2 for each of the traditional parties, and Sinn Féin on 5 at the moment, awaiting some official results and not just reports. But as I said earlier, if the reports are that 100% of the boxes are in and a candidate is easily won, I'm not going to refuse that candidate their ability to be elected in my program. Now, looking at Dublin West results, this was kind of interesting to who gets over. Now, people before profit can't really get over from there because they don't get preference. As we saw in one of those 2020 seats, they really don't get preferences from anywhere, so they're not going to be helped over the line. And so it's likely that this Green candidate is going to overtop them unless the Social Democrats have something else to say about that. So it's definitely between... I'd definitely say it's between the Green and Labour. It's possible if Social Democrats and presumably Aon to put them over People Before Profit, it'll be People Before Profit who decide, and that's actually probably the most likely result. So let's go to the 2020 results in Dublin West and see 10% Solidarity. And in fact, the Greens are slightly ahead of Solidarity here. If one thing affects the first preferences, Labour were nowhere near as high as they are this time around. And if we go ahead to Social Democrats preferences, we can see that overwhelmingly favoured the Greens. One step forward, and we had Aon2 preferences favouring the left-wing parties, but the Greens over Labour. And with Labour and Fine Gael second being dissolved, we can see that the Greens clearly get boosted ahead of Solidarity, People Before Profit. So if there isn't anything changing majorly with how the other parties preference from there, I would say that the Greens are definitely better placed, or pretty much have won that seat. But I do want to see the Social Democrats movements before saying that. Nothing new from Northwest. Calvin Monaghan. 40% in. Sinn Féin doing well there, but you wouldn't actually expect them to not do well. They did. Sinn Féin did quite well in Calvin Monaghan last election. Let's look at those results. 36.7. Sinn Féin actually contested with two candidates here, and they clearly got over the line for it. With one of them on 20% with a 5-seat electorate. 4% will go to the next candidates. And is there another Sinn Féin candidate? Calvin Monaghan. There is McCarthy. No, not McCarthy. Cathy Bennett. Are they here anywhere? Okay, if the Sinn Féin candidate is not in the top 5, then that's probably a bad sign for them. So I'm not quite sure what to think there. Nothing new, nothing new. Seems like nothing is being called, which is, nothing is reporting. It's not overly surprising, but we are awaiting a couple of fully complete counts to actually come into the system. New there. Let's look at some of these changes between elections. So Dublin West, if we look at the last election there, that's Calvin Monaghan. Dublin West. Now, Sinn Féin was on 28 there. If we go back to count 1, Sinn Féin have dropped off a bit there, quite clearly, in fact. 17% of the vote as compared to last time when they had 28.6%. That's an 11-point drop for Sinn Féin, but once again, most of this vote here is all safety. Losing 11% of the vote and moving into a 5-seat constituency means that overall Sinn Féin are going to lose 11% of their vote and go from having 1 seat to having 1 seat. It won't make that much of a difference, and that's part of having that much safety, and presumably partially why they didn't contest with 2 candidates here this time like they should and have done in a couple of other constituencies. Now, Fine Gael have, if we look at their count, gone down a bit from 8% from 23.7 to 15%, and part of that has gone to Fianna Fáil, who have gone from 16 to 22%, which would be a very good improvement for them. But once again, they've gone from getting 1 seat to getting 1 seat, and all of it basically doesn't matter. And everything still relies on the other contest, and the other contest is for the Greens. It is the Greens to win it from this point. some counting in Wicklow. Simon Harris is obviously going to win there, so I'm just going to add him in. After all, he is party leader, and there is nothing. The general rule for these Hare Clark STV, where you're voting for a candidate, elections is the leader will always get their seat, most of the time at least, and they normally get a vote boost by being the leader, and that's clearly happened for Simon Harris in Wicklow. Whether he can drag another candidate over because of it is another question. He'll probably dump about 7% on to the Fine Gael candidate there, but will leave the Social Democrats and Sinn Féin ahead of that candidate, which will be painful for Stephen Donnelly. Oh no, Edward Timmins. Stephen Donnelly is going to be left in the cold, it seems, and presumably his preferences will go to electing Fine Gael. And I think the Social Democrats might be better placed than Sinn Féin there, from my best guess. Still nothing other than that to report. Now, here's some exit polling. Kildare North. Are there any updates proving what's going on there? Kildare North. Not there. Still loaded. Kildare South, there's some. Dublin Bay South. Is that a full count from Dublin Bay South? No, just latest tallies. Wicklow. Wexford. 91%, 91 boxes opened there. And quota of 10,237. Still no declared results. A couple of 100% counted, which has of course gone into counting for some of the results on the right of the screen. More exit poll figures for padding on this slide. One Dublin Rathdown. Fully tally from Dublin Southwest. I'm looking at that. 5 seats. So Sinn Féin is obviously there. Fine Gael is obviously going to get helped over. Fianna Fáil also. So that's Sinn Féin, Fine Gael, and Fianna Fáil. Where's that? Dublin Southwest. And that will add one more to each of the major parties. Looking past that, however, you'd think Labour would be better placed there. Social Democrats are clearly not getting over. No, I don't think they've shown the whole results there, because there's definitely more down here. But I'd say Labour is almost definitely going to get that seat. And the bad preferencing rates for people before profit is not really going to help Murphy there. Still nothing openly declared, so we're still working on these earlier results. I hadn't updated for Rathdown, that's why. Fine Gael has gone up 2 instead of 1 there. Nothing new. It's becoming the theme of waiting, nothing new. All we have to do is really sit tight and wait for more results on the amounts we've got. I'll look through my call so far. One for Sinn Féin in Dublin Central, one in Dublin Fingal West, one in Dublin Midwest, one in Dublin Northwest, one in Dublin Rathdown for Fine Gael, Dublin Southwest, one for all 3, Dublin West, one for all 3, Kildare South, that's one for Fianna Fáil, but I believe that is that correct? Kildare South, Kildare South. Where did I get that from? Okay. Kildare South. Sure. I mean, looking at the results here, I'm not quite sure why I put Fine Gael here. I removed that. And in a moment when that's fixed, we will see there's nothing much else going on except one Fine Gael in Wicklow. If we go back up to the top. What's that new? No, that's old. Greens and Dublin Bay North. Just over 53% of the boxes counted. Sinn Féin to top it. 15% of around 15%. Now, if that's Dublin Bay North, then that's 5 seats, and that's an easy win for Sinn Féin. Are they, big question, are they contesting with 2 candidates? And that'll have to be a question for the 2024 live results. Dublin Bay North. They are contesting with 2 candidates, so it depends where that other candidate. Yeah, oh, here we go. 6% of first preference vote is not really going to put the Sinn Féin candidate into great places, and you'd definitely say the Social Democrats would be preferred over the second Sinn Féin candidate with 13% of first preferences. If we compare that to the 2020 results, it's an improvement of about 5%, which is of course great news for Social Democrats there. Any new live tallies, or is it just commentary? Ooh, an independent Ireland lead in Roscommon Galway. See, I said Galway earlier, and now I can't get it out of my head. Great, Roscommon Galway. Now, is that candidate happen to be cool? Now, that actually would be a gain for Independent Ireland, because that candidate was already there. Now, to see Sinn Féin on 19.9% is interesting. Now, you expect them to still win, but that would be a swing to Sinn Féin, about 2.2%, which would be a pretty good improvement for Sinn Féin, given the status of things. Especially setting 6.5% above the nearest candidate that could knock the Sinn Féin candidate out, Fine Gael candidate, on 13.4%. Now, I could just say it's an Independent Ireland result already, but I might just practice restraint, given the fact that not all the boxes are in. Of course, nothing to report for declared first preference results nationally. I presume this is just a loading problem. Yep. How surprising. Again, nothing much new, except a new photo on this post, it seems. Well and truly started the waiting game. 2020 counts. Domain North, Galway West, and Roscommon Galway. Okay, some indications from Kerry with a decent amount of the boxes in. Michael Healy-Rae is obviously going to get in there. I'll just add it actually. What, 7% over the quota with that many votes in? It's pretty obvious. So that's one independent to go on the tally board. Sinn Féin having a candidate up that high is interesting. Although Fianna Fáil has actually got a candidate who's ready to boost their candidate above. I'm not sure if that'll help Fine Gael though. Unfortunately, because I'm doing this manually, it's much harder than I would normally do it. If I was able to feed some of these tallies into an automated system, we might have a result by now, but unfortunately, no. Let me go. We. It's 2020 results. Dunleary, some results there. Final tally, in fact, for Dunleary. So I've got to put something in. Dunleary. Fine Gael, Fine Gael's Jennifer Carroll McNeil set to top the poll. Do you have preferences for that? That would be very helpful if you had preferences for that. I'd like an actual final tally, but I'll just take their word on it and say, at least for now, Fine Gael's home and P. Sorry, I haven't listed them as. And Solidarity People for Profit. Dublin Fingal East. And Fianna Fáil's I need that bowl cap. All boxes open in a 3-seater 23.4 will definitely get you there. So Fianna Fáil will definitely going to get over the line. Where's that Dublin Fingal East? So that's 1 Fianna Fáil. And Galway, 45% of boxes. That's incredibly inconclusive. Now, there's 3 seats. Unless there's a large solidarity people for profit vote. I don't know. Let's look at Dublin Fingal West. No, that's not. Dublin Fingal East. Many. There's one Sinn Féin. Who? Joan Hopkins. Is she an independent? No. Social Democrat. That will. It'll depend if that flows to Sinn Féin or Labour. If it flows to Sinn Féin will get the seat. If it flows to Labour, Labour will get the seat. But Fine Gael on 14.4, you would think would get through. Just in general. Galway West, nothing new and nothing conclusive. General peace on independent Ireland. I probably could put more results in for the amount we have and the full tallies, but I just want there to be a clear declared result before I do some of these, or before I call some of these seats. So there's definitely more than the seats I've shown that are pretty much won with the amount of votes that are in, but I'm just not showing them yet. But I'm not going to take that as an excuse for not giving them away, and neither should you. Look at that, what a surprise. Nothing else is in there nationally. And nothing else is in there on the live part. And I've just realized, and this is not exactly time based, which is not very helpful for a live blog. Oh, I haven't checked this, but I wonder if really not much notices from some of these places. I thought they were going to have a moving tally marker with this, but it turns out no. Nothing else in general. Double Fingal East, double Galway West, talk about Independent Ireland, Louth, okay, well. Roughly half counted. That's great. I need the numbers. It'd be great if you had the numbers. Do you have them? Yes, okay. Sinn Féin, that would be a top of the poll, but that's not really helpful. So we're looking at 5 seats, so that would be a Sinn Féin. Is there oh, there's another Sinn Féin. Okay, that'll easily be 2 for Sinn Féin, but there probably won't be any more, because you can't see the boosting past this, especially when you've got a Fine Gael on 5.41. Is that enough? Yeah, that's easily enough. I'm going to straight up and call Louth. Oh, do I want to do that? How many have counted? 32%. I don't feel good enough to call it. Look, if I wanted to call everyone in Louth at the moment, I think this is going to be how it ends up. But I don't know where these are from. So I've got the good old not waiting for destination problem. I'd say from there you would expect Sinn Féin, Joanna Byrne, Jed Nash, 2 Sinn Féin, 1 Fine Gael, 1 Fianna Fáil, and Labour at that destination. You can't really expect anything else. Look, there's no way Kevin Callan, Herman Kelly isn't going to get him over. John McGahn isn't going to get him over. John McGahn is already obviously going to help Fine Gael. So there's not much else that can happen in Louth. But in an abundance of caution, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I've gone the cautious route, so I've just put one in for Louth, and it's the obvious one. It's the one for Sinn Féin. Okay, let's go to Louth. What the hell? Dunleary. Why is that not showing? Hold on, I'm going to have to check that. Why is there one in Dunleary? Why is it not showing? It's sold PP. It's suggesting that there's one there, but it's not actually sure. What is it looking for? Oh, it's trying to display. Ah, I see. Okay. That's a bit of a technical issue. I'm going to say, just on a different result, I'm going to say with 50%, 7% of the Roscommon Galway boxes open, that's obviously going to lead to a Independent Ireland seat, so I'll just add that in there. Oh my god, I saved it on this computer. Okay. Wrong computer. Fairfield. Independent Ireland. Full tally from Cooknoss Central. 5 seats, so that'll be a Fianna Fáil. Doesn't need to be anyone backing up for thing. Independent. Turns out my stream quality is not being great because I don't know, it seems like my computer can't quite handle the idea of sharing a screen, which is real cool. So that's fun. Really fun thing to be happening at 1:04 a.m. in Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So let's get back to business. Look, at least we haven't actually got that any declaration at all yet with the results we have in, or the tallies we have in the moment. My system is saying that there is 12. Myself is saying that there is 12 Fianna Fáil. There is 10 Sinn Féin TDs. There are 10 Fine Gael TDs. There are 6 Social Democratic TDs, 1 Solidarity, People Before Profit, 5 Independents, and 4 others, which are pretty much all independent Ireland, I believe. Yeah, there's no one else who would go into the others category. Have I put in anything from Meath East? There seems to be something in from Meath East. Fine 4 seats from Meath East. That means 20% is the marker. We're looking at Fine Gael on 26. That will be a seat. Sinn Féin on 23. That will be a seat. Fianna Fáil. That will be a seat. So I'll put those in. I'm gonna have to keep checking now. Now that I know it. No problem. Oh, is it still having problems? Still no declarations yet. Some clear results. I don't have anything from there. Oh, not results. Tallies. 4 seats. That'll be Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael. Easily. And Fianna Fáil will be looking for another seat there. Second seat. Inverary North. 3 seats. That'll pretty easily be the independent Michael Lurie. Lurie. I don't know. Um, 95% of boxes in Wicklow have been counted. That would easily be a Fine Sinn Féin look well positioned there. Social Democrats look well positioned. Altogether, I think that would be 2 Fine Gael and 1 Social Democrat, depending on what the others tally is, like what components there are in others. And there's not much in the others component. Sinn Féin, Social Democrats. Yeah, I'm going to say that is Sinn Féin. That's 2 Fine Gaels, 1 Sinn Féin, and 1 Social Democrat. And that's at least the ones I'm somewhat comfortable of. Great, and it's buffering again. Wonderful. Kilkenny. There's a decent amount of it counted. Five seats to be filled. VFL will get one there. Have I called it? Fianful. And there's something more. Bring in to block my view of Carlo Kilkenny. Start to avoid thinking that that will be two Fianful. One Friendly Grail. And one Chiffon. Putting that in the system. And letting it run out. We already know that. Fanny doing well in Donegal, well, that would be suspected. Is it working? Okay. I think I've done everything I can to make this stream work better. Let's come and go away. Go away. That's Sinn Féin seat, I think. Oh no, that contest is too tight. Can't call that. No definite results. Some Wicklow numbers, but that's not really helpful. Overall, at the moment, I've declared some seats that from the data that we're getting from some of the counts, but I'm waiting off to declare most whole constituencies until there's actually been a first count declaration, and we won't be waiting upwards of an hour for the first one of those. It will be interesting to see which one is at the moment. Well, here's a Meath East one. Meath East. I think I've got everything from Meath East that I can use. Meath East. Yeah, okay, I've already got things in for Meath East. Where's the 4 seats? Is there a problem with the 4th seat? Okay, so Fine Gael is obviously on 19% there. 2 other outgoing TDs. Sinn Féin will be safe, Fianna Fáil will be safe, Independent is probably the next one, I would think. No, it's still Meath East, then it's still talking about the Greens. knowing that the Social Democrats hope to increase seats is really not helping. Cool. You think you can increase seats? That's really helpful. Go away. Okay. I don't know what I just did, but I think that might have worked. Whatever it was. Fianna Fáil on 12.2 in Kildare. North 12.2. Sinn Féin on 12% itself. And Social Democrats on 14.4. Looking at that, you would assume that it would end up having a Social Democrat, a Fianna Fáil, and Sinn Féin, and that is a lot of information in my head. What the hell? Fianna Fáil. Italian Dublin based south. That doesn't help if you don't show what it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to assume that it's going to be 2 Fianna Fáils, 1 Fine Gael, and 1 Social Democrat and a Sinn Féin. That looks likely at the moment. I'm not sure which ones to be certain about though, so I might wait with that. Especially given the fact that not all the boxes are tallied. Still no declarations, but you knew that. I'm gonna need to stop the screen. Okay, hopefully this is still working now. God, so many stream issues. That being said, let's go back to Kildare North. Nothing new there. We're looking at Healy-Raes, we're looking at Kerry, all 260 boxes in from Kerry. Michael Healy-Rae on 24%. Sinn Féin on 15%, that will be easily a seat. Fianna Fáil on 13.3%, that will be a seat. And the other Healy Rae, the brother, on 11%, that will be a seat from Michael Healy Rae's preferences. Where is this Kerry? How much? After that, maybe. I have no idea what it is after that. It's either Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. Then we have Dublin South West. Does that? Oh God. Cool. People before profit Canada on 7.6. They're saying he's confident. They're saying that it doesn't matter to me. Wow. Oh yeah, I still have. Galway West is what I need. Kerry, Dublin South West. Looking over this. There's no movement on the RTE stream, the program. It's to be expected as we're still waiting for those results. Dublin South West. It's no help to me. Cork East. Do we have any information for Cork East? I know. Cork East. No, we did not. But the turnout figure does not help either. Why is that there? Great. Still a slow trickle of results, and by results I mean tallies coming in from around Ireland. Currently, I have Fianna Fáil on 18, Sinn Féin on 15, some Fine Gael on 15, Social Democrats on 4, People Before Profit on 1, Mounted on 0, Independents with 7, and others with 4. past that. This is still going to go on. I'll close all these, don't need them. That's 2020 results. What am I looking for here? I could tell if there's reason for them to be optimistic in Dublin South. If you gave me the figures for Dublin South, I probably should just go look for Dublin South Central. Oh, Wicklow, Wexford. I need to go first to Dublin South West. Do you have more complete figures? You don't. Oh, you do. Okay. Go ahead. Dublin Southwest. I already have figures for Dublin Southwest. Wonderful. Boxes are open for Wicklow, Wexford. Doesn't really help. Except that, I've already got the results for that. They're south. 9% of the box is tallied. What do I have for Kildare South? I don't have Kildare South. That will very clearly be pretty well. VFL, Sinn Féin, and then I can't see the rest of that screen, so that's gonna have to do. No, Mark Wall, L. What does it mean by L? And that's also not complete percentages. Oh, no, it is. Yeah, I think it is. Mark Wall L. What does it mean by Mark Wall L in, where is this, Kildare South? Kildare South. Oh, boy. Automatic. It means Labour. I'm not sure why you would abbreviate like that. Oh no, yeah, I see why you abbreviate it like that. Sinn Féin. VFL. I think. There we go. Labour. Would be the first Labour seat in Kildare South, if true, and is looking at the figures of that is likely true. Final tally and leash. Final tally and leash. We're looking at Finneguel on 24.7 nights. In a 3-seater, that will give them a seat. Finnefel on... It's hard to see how Brian Stanley, either Brian Stanley or Mario McCormick isn't one of the two. Finnefel isn't going to get another one there. I think that's another seat to add on to the tally. Where is this? Oh, I have neither. Okay. Get that done. I love to see notes. It is 3 minutes to 3, or about to be, in Ireland. So I presume that means some of the 4 p.m. declaration time estimations might be beginning to go somewhere. Tipperary, Alfie NFL will get over. Sinn Féin will probably not go anywhere. And probably flow to Labour. Yes. What was the result previously? What is this? This is Tipperary. Tipperary. Look at what Tipperary North was last time. There was no 2 Tipperary last time around. And there was Labour person there, so I'm less surprised by the Labour one now, which is nice. So let's put those in, because I'm not seeing many other forms, especially if that's 93%. I already had. Labour. Okay. That that means when it updates, which is sometime in the next millennia. There we go. 2 Labour seats now, which is not looking as bad for the smaller party. Still nothing there. For Gore West. I have 4. Where's this? This is developing West. I've just got Sinn Féin at the top here. Now Bigger West has how many seats? I forgot. Dublin. Bigger West. It has 3 seats, which means Labour's definitely there. I'm not sure about Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. It's a bit off in the air with that. So I'll definitely add a Labour here, which means Labour is creeping closer to the 2020 figure of 6, which I'm sure they'll be happy about. It's always not a great thing to lose seats. Still no first counts. That's amazing. I keep on getting annoyed, like counting that many votes that quickly is easy. No, it isn't. And waiting for more results coming. much coming in. Accidentally moved some things over there. I mean, I guess I should be saying the state of play, but it's the same as it's been for a while, and unfortunately, I don't have any politicians to go and transfer to while I sit here and wait for more results. But I'm pretty confident with all the party tallies that I've got at the moment. It's the best that I can realistically do. The official counting has started in Offaly, I believe. Not really helpful. Three Labour, 4 SD. An amazing amount to consider. Some reports from Dublin Bay North. Clear, full breakdown of 100% tally. Have I got everything clear? Yeah, I've got Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. That's evident. Another Fianna Fáil and yep, that's definite. And given there's no room for anything else, is there anything else? Now, realistically, there has to be the Sinn Féin. It's not really avoidable. There's no other party that could realistically go over. So that's a couple more seats onto the tally. Now would be a good time to once again reference that now would be a good time to once again reference that no, the result, the people being ahead in the tallies does not in fact mean anything. Longford Westmeath. They need to stop sharing these as things. That is unreadable. God, what is this? What happened to Fianna Fáil? Some others. I don't know what to interpret from these. What is the quote? What is this, Claire? No, Longford Westmeath, 20%. Fine Gael at least. Fianna Fáil as well. One from each of the majors and someone else. That's for Longford Westmeath. Okay. Tipperary North. Nothing majorly new. That's still in pretty much the condition it was. Still no counts to be seen. Tally for Donegal. That. I don't have anything for Donegal. Okay, let's put in some. Sinn Féin. Wait, we knew that. Fianna Fáil, then another Sinn Féin, then another Fianna Fáil. Then it gets tricky. Not really another Sinn Féin. Oh no, there's a possibility of pickup. Same for Fine Gael though. There is some people before Profit that could go to Sinn Féin. The Greens are there. Not really a possibility for another Fianna Fáil. Pringle could get a decent amount of votes from Sinn Féin. Overflow. So, yeah. I think, to be safe, I'm just going to go to Sinn Féin, to Fianna Fáil for Donegal at the moment. Mayor, there is at least one. Of course, that's one. One Sinn Féin. The next obvious ones are going to be Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. And I don't have enough to say anything else. So, another classic three-way. I guess it's still not much new data-wise. Galway is not really changing. Galway East. And that's right, so great. I don't understand what's going to come out of that. Fine Gael. I suspect that Sinn Féin would come out better there, but I'm not sure. Still no declarations. Still no hints of a declaration. Double Midwest. Sinn Féin with 2 there seems likely. Where is this Double Midwest? Dublin. Midwest. Okay, Sinn Féin and then. Fine. And then Fine Gael. And then some questions. I personally suspect the Social Democrats, but I don't know, so I'm not going to act like I know. We're now 38 minutes out from the most cited first poll, first new poll time, which is 4 p.m. on Ireland. I cover Monaghan. Final tally. Sinn Féin's there. Sinn Féin's there again. Sinn Féin. Oh, is that 3? Ooh. Coven Monaghan. That's a really good place for all the Sinn Féin candidates to be, because you really want to be flat for most of the time. Pretty well would need I don't know. I do not know. I need more data there. I'm not sure what happening else there. Come on. I think I accidentally copy and pasted something in there. Wow. That's definitely supposed to be a Sinn Féin. And that's definitely not. That's definitely not supposed to be where I meant to do that. Possible they're the 3-2 in Cavan Monaghan. Wait. Sligo Leitrim. There's definitely is Sinn Féin there. Sligo. Yeah, there's a Sinn Féin ad. And doing it again. Is Fine Gael close enough to get through? Oh wait, Fianna Fáil has... yeah, okay. I'm not sure. With Fianna Fáil presumably is getting that seat, and Sinn Féin as well. If we look at the tally now, after I remember to save. Sitting at 24 for Sinn Féin. Dublin South Central. There's going to be at least one Sinn Féin. God. Cork East. Do I have anything from there? I do not have anything for Cork East. Fine Gael, 12%. Fianna Fáil, where's this? 4 seats. 1 Fianna Fáil, 1 Fine Gael. Ooh. Then it gets difficult. I'm lost. Other than that, nothing new. I don't know how to decode all that, except to say there's one Fine Gael and one Fianna Fáil, definitely. I still don't fully see which one will go through between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, but it'll definitely be one of the two. Final tally for Laois. Three seats, so Fine Gael will definitely get through. And next up is Fianna Fáil. Maybe Sinn Féin then? I don't know. Bit hazy there. More from Kildare South. That looks to be I think I already categorized this. Kildare South, Kildare South, yeah. That seems to be one each for Sinn Féin, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, and where's Labour? And Labour. Mostly because look at this SD 7.2, that's enough to get them over. Tipperary South final tally. Do I have that already? Tipperary South, no. Independence, Fine Gael, and probably Fianna Fáil, but that's hard to differentiate. So Independent and Fine Gael for now, at least. 2. It is 3:46 in Ireland, I believe. So we really should be starting to see some first counts come in. No more news particularly. No evidence of first counts yet.